A line was crossed on April 22, 2025, in the pristine valley of Pahalgam, a jewel of Indian-administered Kashmir. A group of militants attacked a convoy of civilian vehicles, killing 26 innocent people, most of them Hindu pilgrims. The attack sent shockwaves through India, with fingers immediately pointed towards Pakistan. India accused Pakistan of harboring and supporting the perpetrators, specifically naming Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. Pakistan vehemently denied any involvement, calling for a joint investigation. The attack ignited simmering tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbors, pushing them dangerously close to the brink of war. India vowed a swift and decisive response, promising to make Pakistan pay a heavy price for its alleged complicity. The stage was set for Operation Sindoor, a series of military actions that would plunge the region into chaos. The attack on Pahalgam was not an isolated incident. It represented a dangerous escalation in the decades-long conflict over Kashmir. The region, claimed by both India and Pakistan, has been a flashpoint for violence and instability. The international community watched with bated breath as India prepared to launch its response, fearing a wider conflagration in South Asia. On May 7, 2025, India launched Operation Sindoor, a series of missile and airstrikes targeting what it claimed were terrorist infrastructure and training camps in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The strikes, according to India, were carefully calibrated to avoid civilian casualties and were intended as a measured and non-escalatory response to the Pahalgam attack. Pakistan, however, painted a very different picture of the events. It claimed that the Indian strikes had caused significant civilian casualties and damaged civilian infrastructure, including mosques and residential areas. Pakistan vehemently denied that the targeted sites were being used for terrorist activities, calling the strikes a blatant act of aggression. The international community reacted with a mixture of concern and condemnation, urging both sides to exercise restraint and avoid further escalation. Pakistan, determined to demonstrate its resolve, vowed to retaliate. The exchange of fire across the line of control, the de facto border dividing Kashmir, intensified, with both sides accusing each other of violating the ceasefire. The situation on the ground grew increasingly volatile, with fears of a full-blown war between the two nuclear-armed neighbors reaching fever pitch. As tensions soared and the drums of war beat louder, it was the civilian population on both sides of the border that bore the brunt of the escalating conflict. Thousands fled their homes in search of safety, schools closed, hospitals overwhelmed, and essential supplies dwindled. The Indian government ordered evacuations, displacing tens of thousands. Makeshift relief camps struggled to cope with the influx. The situation was equally dire on the Pakistani side. Hospitals reported a surge in casualties, the healthcare system strained under the pressure. The digital space became another battleground. The human cost was immeasurable, leaving behind death and displacement. The conflict between India and Pakistan spilled over into the digital realm, where a fierce battle of narratives unfolded. Both countries engaged in intense propaganda campaigns, utilizing social media platforms, news outlets, and online forums to shape public opinion both domestically and internationally. India accused Pakistan of sponsoring terrorism and spreading disinformation, while Pakistan countered by accusing India of human rights violations in Kashmir and warmongering. The online space became a breeding ground for misinformation, hate speech, and fake news, further exacerbating tensions and deepening mistrust between the two sides. The digital standoff extended beyond propaganda, with both countries accusing each other of launching cyber attacks. India claimed that Pakistani hackers had targeted critical infrastructure, including power grids and communication networks. The potential for cyber attacks to escalate the conflict and cause significant damage was undeniable. Section 5, The Roots of Discord, Kashmir, and the Cycle of Violence. At the heart of the conflict between India and Pakistan lies the long-standing dispute over Kashmir, a region of breathtaking beauty marred by decades of violence and bloodshed. Both countries claim the entire territory of Kashmir, which was divided between them following the partition of British India in 1947. The dispute has been a major source of tension and conflict, leading to 3 wars and numerous skirmishes between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. India accuses Pakistan of sponsoring and arming militant groups operating in Indian-administered Kashmir, a charge Pakistan vehemently denies. Pakistan, in turn, accuses India of human rights violations and of suppressing the Kashmiri people's right to self-determination. The complex web of historical grievances, political aspirations, and strategic interests has made finding a lasting solution to the Kashmir dispute incredibly challenging. The revocation of Article 370 added another layer of complexity to the already intractable Kashmir dispute, further dimming prospects for a peaceful resolution. Section 6. Political stakes, domestic pressures, and international implications. Tensions between India and Pakistan are deeply tied to domestic politics. In India, Prime Minister Modi projects strength against Pakistan. The Pahalgam attack pressured Modi to respond forcefully. With elections nearing, Modi couldn't appear weak. Operation Sindoor was partly driven by political considerations. In Pakistan, domestic politics also influenced the response. Prime Minister Sharif faced pressure from the military. The military advocated for a strong response. Tensions had significant regional and international implications. The international community urged restraint and dialogue. Section 7. Living on the brink, nuclear weapons and the precarious balance. The specter of nuclear war loomed large over the escalating conflict between India and Pakistan. Both countries possess nuclear weapons, making any military confrontation a terrifying prospect. The risk of miscalculation, accidental escalation, or even the deliberate use of nuclear weapons cast a long shadow over the region. India, which first tested nuclear weapons in 1974, maintains a no-first-use policy, pledging to use its nuclear arsenal only in retaliation to a nuclear attack. Pakistan, which conducted its first nuclear tests in 1998, has not made a similar pledge, maintaining a policy of full-spectrum deterrence. This difference in nuclear doctrines has been a source of concern for the international community, as it raises the possibility of Pakistan using nuclear weapons in response to a conventional attack. The risk of nuclear escalation is further heightened by the lack of transparency surrounding both countries' nuclear arsenals and their command and control structures. The potential consequences of a nuclear conflict between India and Pakistan are too horrific to contemplate. Diplomatic efforts must focus on de-escalating tensions, promoting dialogue, and encouraging both India and Pakistan to engage in responsible nuclear risk reduction measures. The world cannot afford to be complacent about the nuclear threat in South Asia. Section 8. Calls for restraint, the international community's plea for peace. As tensions between India and Pakistan spiraled, the international community sprang into action, issuing urgent calls for restraint and de-escalation. The United States, China, Russia, the European Union, and numerous other countries expressed deep concern over the situation, urging both sides to exercise maximum restraint and avoid further actions that could exacerbate the crisis. Diplomatic efforts intensified, with world leaders engaging in shuttle diplomacy, phone calls, and summits to try and defuse the situation. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting, where members called for an immediate ceasefire and a return to dialogue. The international community recognized the gravity of the situation, understanding that a full-blown war between two nuclear-armed states would have devastating consequences, not just for the region, but for the entire world. The focus was on urging both India and Pakistan to step back from the brink, to de-escalate the situation, and to seek a peaceful resolution through dialogue and diplomacy. The message was clear. The world was watching, and the time for restraint, dialogue, and a peaceful resolution was now. Section 9. An uncertain future, the long road to de-escalation and dialogue. As the dust settled on the latest round of hostilities between India and Pakistan, the future remained fraught with uncertainty. While the immediate crisis may have subsided, the underlying tensions and mistrust that have plagued the relationship between the two nuclear-armed neighbors remained unresolved. The road to de-escalation and dialogue promised to be a long and arduous one, requiring sustained effort, compromise, and a genuine desire for peace from both sides. The international community, having played a crucial role in averting a full-blown war, would need to remain actively engaged, providing support and encouragement for dialogue, confidence-building measures, and conflict resolution mechanisms. The first step towards a more peaceful future would require both India and Pakistan to take concrete steps to reduce military tensions along the line of control. This could include re-establishing communication channels between military commanders, reaffirming ceasefire commitments, and withdrawing troops from forward positions. Simultaneously, both countries would need to address the scourge of terrorism, dismantling terrorist infrastructure, and bringing perpetrators of violence to justice. However, true and lasting peace could only be achieved by addressing the root causes of the conflict, including the Kashmir dispute. The time for dialogue, reconciliation, and a just and lasting peace was now.